for today, but we've also got some special guests today, Jess.
Yep, sorry about that audio feed issue, guys. We just had a bit of a mic issue, but we are back live.
Beautiful. So today we've got some special guests. We've got Craig Crowe Alexander, 3-time Kona World Champion. We've got Brandon Copeland, Charlotte McShane, Jonathan Golek, Aaron Royal, Marcel Walkington, and more on the ride. We've also got our famous ride leaders. We've got Craig Needham, who will be joining us on the phone later today. And we've also got Triathlon Australia President, Michelle Cooper.
That's right. And here's the thing, Michelle Cooper, she's already done about 60 Ks this morning.
So she's obviously not looking to win that final sprint, Jess, on that third lap when we say test your legs if you want to test your legs.
That's right.
So we are watching some of the feed as we speak. We've got some great conversations happening, people introducing themselves, welcome. But like I said, guys, we've got 300 plus registered for today's ride. So that is a phenomenal effort after ride one. Not only will we be jumping on the phone to Craig Needham, Jess, we're also going to be jumping onto the phone with 3-time world champion Craig Alexander. That's exciting.
Yeah, it certainly is. Very, very exciting. Look, we've got a great lineup this morning. Like last time, 3 laps of Volcano Flat, so look, we're very excited for what's going on today.
I'm also excited, Jess, because you know what? I've got my little device here, my little cheating device, because I'm going to log into Zwift Power to actually see some live data and see who's doing what and what wattage and per kilo, and sort of give you a bit more of that description today. So I'm looking forward to giving you some of that knowledge. The ride ticks off in under 1 minute 50 seconds, so everyone's on, pumping their legs over, just trying to get that warm up if they have not been on Watopia or anything so far. Cool. We've got some great conversations. We've got already over 200 on the ride ready to go, but it's phenomenal. Like 300 plus in the last 10 to 15 minutes, there's been 60 plus riders join our ride. So welcome to everyone. Welcome to everyone on YouTube watching us back home. Hopefully you're watching us while you're riding, because you might even get to see yourself. So we are just over 1 minute away and counting. So we're following Craig Needham at the moment. So Craig is a Cairns local. Craig is also a Jetstar pilot who's currently volunteering his time for us to give up his time, his Sunday morning with his family, to actually come on the ride, lead the ride. And we're very grateful to have him here. So we'll cross over to him, and he's even riding in a special suit, which I'm not going to give away too much just yet. So we've got Michelle Cooper on the line as well. So Michelle is a very frequent Zwift user, and like Jesse said, she's already done 60 plus Ks. We've already got that many riders that have already warmed up the legs, so they're really serious today, Jess.
They sure are. It's we're really excited. It's good to see everyone coming back for ride number 2 as well, and it's also great because we see some of the COVID-19 restrictions, they're easing, and so people can go out, start doing rides outdoors, which is fantastic. And so if there's people that aren't riding today, they're outdoors. Awesome, but it's great to see so many people here today.
Ready, Jess? 2, 1, ride is away. So Craig's already given the orders to go stay at 1.5 watts per kilo. So that's a nice, comfortable pace to get started. Nothing too hard, nothing too stupid to get started. So we really want those first 2 laps as a bit of a group ride feel, like you're outside in a peloton, so that you can get some drafting. Because on Zwift, you actually get the draft benefit. And lucky for us, Jess, we've got double draft on, haven't we?
Yes, I think we do.
So it's going to be nice and easy for some of these riders to stay at that 1.5. But if some people want to go, that's up to them. People aren't going to chase them. But we're just going to hold that 1.5 nice and easy and go from there. We've got some awesome riders on deck, like I said. So we've got Charlotte McShane, we got Aaron Royal, we got Crowe, we got Jonathan Golek, we got Marcel Walkington. So we've got some great pros on today supporting this initiative that Triathlon Australia and Zwift have brought to us. And we're very thankful that we have this opportunity. Not many people get this. So we're just going to throw a bit of love out there to the crowd. I'm going to give a big thumbs up right on to Craig Needham.
Excellent. That's exactly right. It's really, really great to see everyone out. Well, I just saw one of the riders go past. I didn't quite catch the name, but they were on a time trial bike. which I don't think maybe that rider got the memo. So guys, if you're watching, if you're in a bunch ride, and you choose to ride on your time trial bike, you are not receiving a drafting benefit. So,
No, that is quite true on these rides. So if you look at it, Jess, look at the feed. Look how strung out they are. They are riding as a good group at the moment. They are sticking together. They are riding as a peloton. They're staying at that 1.5 watts per kilo. So currently, you look at Craig, he's cruising. He's at 72 beats per minute, sitting at 100 watts. So really nothing too strenuous because he's getting that benefit of the double draft.
That's right. And we see, I think Craig Needham, he may not want to work too hard because as we see, he's Jace, have a look at that. He's riding with a bear hat on.
Oh,
Isn't it crazy?
so like I said, Craig is from Jetstar and he's got that little bear Jetstar hat on because he's very fond of that bear, Jess.
Yeah, he does like the bear. Craig,
Where do I go?
So, look, I think maybe we should talk about some of our all-star riders that we've got this morning. What do you reckon, Jay?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so first up on our list, the one and only Craig Alexander.
So what is there not to say about Craig? So Craig, 5-time triathlon world champion, 3-time Ironman world champion, 2 times Ironman 70.3 world champion, and the list is immensely long. I don't want to go into it because it's just his name speaks for himself. When you know Ironman Kona in Australia, you think of Crowe, you think of Chris McCormack, you think of those types of characters that really set the fire. And hopefully we can get another Aussie on that podium at Kona soon, Jess.
Wouldn't that be great? Would be good. Craig's also been doing a bit of work with the Triathlon Victoria Junior Development Program as well, hasn't he?
So lucky in Tri-Vic, they've got Luke Bell, obviously. So Luke Bell was one of our riders last week in our first ride, and he's really come to the scenes and using his contacts. So he got Craig to come out along and do a little development camp for his juniors, which was a great little initiative, I thought.
We should say Luke's out this fortnight.
Yeah, so Luke's getting a little bit old, and he'll let me say that. But Luke's done another muscle strain, so he's off no bike duties. So we won't see Luke today, but that's okay. He's fine. He'll be all right. He'll get back into it.
All right, next on our list is Aaron Royal.
So Aaron is a tremendous triathlete. He's been around for ages, Aaron. When you think triathlon in Australia, you always see Aaron's name up. He is consistent. He's gone to Olympics. He's gone to Commonwealth Games. Yes, he's done it all, and he's got the illustrious career. And it'll be interesting to see. I watched him at Noosa, I reckon it was, and he looked on fire that day. And he just had that little incident on the run course, but he's going to go long course, I reckon, soon. I can see it.
Well, so he's got 15 ITU podiums out of 96 ITU starts, 3 ITU wins. He's an absolute star.
Who's next
on
our list?
So next on our list, Brandon Copeland.
So Brandon has had a phenomenal year. He's currently sitting at 50th in the world, so top 50 place for Brandon. And he's been 6th place at Devonport last year. He's been 20th and 30th in his last couple of races. So he's on that cusp just of breaking through, and he's still in the under 23 ranks, I believe, as well. So he's still not at full maturity. So watch Brendan. I reckon he'll be the next Olympics or Commonwealth Games types contender.
That's right. As we see, Craig Needham is just doing some instructions to the team. Don't chase wheels. Still sticking it around that 2 watts per kilo, which is bang on where they want to be. What we saw last ride was a lot of people as soon as the ride started, bang, they went off the front.
Yeah.
Not quite the purpose of our ride. So that was Brandon. Now we're going to look at Charlotte McShane.
So Charlotte has been very consistent on the triathlon front. She's represented Australia multiple times. She's been top 10s. She's been top 5s. She won the 2017 Hamburg ITU Mixed Team Relay Championships with the Australian team. So
fantastic.
She's been there, done that, and she's also working in partner with Brendan Sexton, who's one of our high performance coaches, Jess.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Is Brendan riding today?
I hadn't seen his
name. I saw him at ride 1, but not ride 2. That's right. So 2 ITU wins, 110 starts. great to have Charlotte along the ride. Now we've got Jonathan Gerlich.
So Jonathan Gerlich, he's a Paralympian for triathlon. He's got B3 category. He's had 3 qualification rankings. He's currently sitting 3rd in the para-triathlon ranking system, Jess. So he is a tremendous athlete. Like, if you look at his credentials, 3rd place at 2019 Tokyo ITU Para-Triathlon World Cup, 2nd place at 2019 Yokohama ITU World Triathlon Series, 3rd, 1st, 6th, winner, 10th. So he is up there all the time.
Absolutely. That's a
tremendous.
Quite an impressive resume. All right, we've got Marcel Walkington is our next athlete here. Marcel is based out of Victoria.
Yeah. And Marcel had a breakthrough race this year at Devonport, Jess. So he won Devonport, which is the OTU Sprint Triathlon Oceania Cap race. First across the line, meaning he bet some Kiwis. He had a phenomenous race. He was outstanding. His run just led the way. He was on a bike group and then just went nuts on that run.
Yeah, that's right. So we're done 4.2 kilometres now. As you can see up in the left-hand corner of the screen, everybody's just sitting at around that 1.72 watts per kilo weights per kilo power at the moment. I just want to talk about some of the metrics that you get out of Zwift. So you've got a large number, 117 watts right now. That's the power that's coming out of the legs, going into the pedals, into the bike, propelling you forward. There's another one, 72 BPM. Jace, you want to talk about that?
So beats per minute is obviously your heart rate. So Zwift is awesome. Zwift, you can sync a lot of devices and a lot of little gadgets with it. And not only that, if you're lucky enough to have a Wahoo or a Smart Trainer or even a Tax, there's all these little things that you can click on. So Wahoo have their own sort of heart rate monitor, Jess, which is a ticker.
Looks like this thing.
Yeah, so that ticker is Bluetooth compatible, so it can be picked up via your laptop, via your phone, and sync up to Zwift, which, when you think training, one of those sort of key metrics that coaches like to look for and sort of monitor is heart rate. Yes, it's old school training and philosophies, but there's nothing wrong with heart rate because it doesn't matter whether you've had a big week or not. Your heart rate can show several trends, and if you're following those trends nicely, you can actually pick when you're actually going to break down, Jess. And it's one of those things where if you can see you have a spiked heart rate that morning, maybe back off your session if you're feeling it, because there's no point going too hard too early.
That's right. And so we see Craig Needham's heart rate is saying 72. I reckon maybe there's a bit of a connection error, which is actually an interesting thing to talk about. Because there's so many ways that you can connect on Zwift at the moment. And I'm pretty sure that Craig Needham is using an Apple TV for today. And one of the things about Apple is that it's only got, in addition to the remote control, it's only got 2 other channels of Bluetooth. And so one of those channels is going to be taken up by your smart trainer. And then the other channel is going to be taken up. In this case, what we've got here is that Craig is showing that he's got a cadence meter.
Yes.
And so possibly what's happening there is he's using the Zwift companion app to pair a third sensor. But as you can see, that his heart rate has just dropped off. So maybe he's actually listening to the feed and realised something's wrong. Good work, Craig.
So we're currently watching Aaron Royal. So I've jumped up the pack up to Aaron Royal just to see some of his stats. So he's sitting at a very low cadence, Jess. If you look at that, and I reckon he showed this last week, but it was Bailey that was showing this last week with his low cadence method. So they're just cruising at the moment. He's sitting at 65 RPM, sitting at 135 watts, which would be a very, very cruisy pace for someone like Aaron Royal. I've got the stats here on Zwift Power. So for those that don't know Zwift Power is an external system that you can create a username and a profile, link it to your Zwift account, and it matches all your rides, gives you your full-on stats. So if you're a data geek, or if you're a coach, or if you're an athlete that just wants to see where you're at and sort of give you a good indication, Zwift Power is a great thing to link up. And if I rank it in riders on our ride today, Jess, up top 2, Aaron Royal. So he's second ranked on this ride with David Mainwaring, who's also a top pro in Australia, long course pro. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because we've got some very phenomenal riders on this ride. We've got a lot of A-grade riders on this ride.
In fact, I just saw, if you look at David Manwaring's handle, his Zwift profile, he's got at the end of it, brackets ADHR. Now, what that means is that he rides in the ADHR Zwift Ride Series. And I've got to say, if you've ever ridden in that, you will know that the pace is hot. Those guys hammer it.
So it's going to be really interesting. Like we said, lap 1 and 2 is nice and cruisy, really getting the legs, just seeing where's all at, just enjoying the ride as a bunch, and then lap 3, if they want, can test the legs when Craig says go. I also want to give a big shout out to Ian Jones. So Ian Jones has put his hand up today to be our back rider. So we didn't have a back rider last ride, but Ian Jones has said, yep, I'm happy to sit at the back and just have a nice ride with some of the people. So we're there for everyone. We're trying to get as many people on this ride, and it's really cool to see.
That's right. Ian is the red beacon, and so he's a sweep rider. He'll be at the back, as we saw just a shot earlier of the ride looping around back on itself, and the red beacon was at the back. So on your Jonesy for that.
I want to do a big shout out, Jess. Looking at this map, look how bunched together they are. Yep. They are riding really, really well together. Like, they're sitting at 44 k's an hour in a bunch.
Yeah.
So that just gives a big shout out. Let's give a big thumbs up right on to Aaron Royal while he's there. I'll see if I can jump on to someone else. Hey, there's my mate Russell Badenoch. I go for a ride with him nearly every week, so he's on the ride. Welcome, Russ. Who else have we got on this ride that I can see?
I haven't seen him yet, but as JC, you and I have been speaking with him during the week, Robbie Wallace, he's doing today on rollers.
Oh, he's more dangerous. That's dangerous, I reckon. I wouldn't even game going on rollers, Jess.
Let's hope he's put the rollers up near a wall. So
or hopefully he's got that stand that comes on the front wheel and locks you in, so you don't go anywhere. Because me and rollers don't mix well, Jess. So that's definitely something I'm not going to do for Zwift until I get comfortable. But as you can see, now they're going downhill slightly, -4% gradient. Cadence dropped right, wattage has dropped, and they're sitting at 40k an hour. So
this is a segment I think that starts to play with your brain a bit, because as we see, it's not on tarmac, although it's about to transition back onto a normal road. And Zwift's very clever. Oh, there's someone in a TT. Just remember, guys, you don't get the draft if you're on a TT. But as I said, so when you hit some dirt sections of Zwift actually increases the rolling resistance. So you may find that your speed drops from sort of mid-30s to down to under 20 because you're not riding on road at the moment. Plays with your head.
So at the moment, guys, I just jumped onto Brandon Copeland, and we'll throw a bit of ride-on action onto Brandon. Nothing like beats showing the love to some of our top athletes today. And you know what? It's always great that... How many athletes do we have, Jess, each week throwing their hands up to come ride with our community?
A lot. So we got 300. I think we hit 300. What we found is that about 60 people joined in about the last 5 minutes. So we were rapidly trying to get the list of everyone that was joining, but we found that everyone was joining late. So it's really, really great. So shortly we are going to hear from Craig Alexander. That's exciting.
Yeah, so 3-time world champion. I'm just letting him ease into the lap. So we're at 8.2. So each lap's around 12 Ks, Jess, is that right?
Yep, 12.3.
12.3 Ks. So we're currently sitting at 8.3. So they're almost at the end of the first lap, and they're riding really, really nice as a group. Like, we're following Brandon Copeland, who looks to be mid-pack roughly. So Brandon's really sitting the pace nicely, staying nice and controlled. But if you look at the riders, Jess, there's that many from other countries that have joined on our ride. So it's really great to see everyone joining on the Triathlon Australia Ride Series.
Yeah, that's right.
We had 400 first ride, 300 second ride. What's going to be third?
Oh, who knows? Who knows?
But Jess, are you ready? Are you doing your training?
I am. I did 60 Ks on Zwift yesterday. I got to say, the rear end hurt a little bit at the end of it. So that's probably my takeaway from my ride on Zwift yesterday. Get yourself a good pair of nicks.
Because I hate to say it, watching these feeds the last 2 races, I'm getting anxious.
Yeah, I got to say, I want to light it up as well.
I want to get on that bike, and you know what? I'm thinking ride 4, Jess, the time trial. Let's really try and push it. Let's see if we can get some technology involved that one of us can sit here and ride and commentate at the same time and get some live talk and feel of how we're going.
I reckon I'm in.
All right. That's our challenge that we've set for ourselves. We are going to be on the bike for Ride 4. So look out.
So the other thing that we're going to talk about today is some nice little hacks. One of the things that I like to do when I join a meetup, it's not a race but a meetup, is I like to either have a Zoom meeting going or Discord. Discord's a really, really good channel for that. And one of the things that you do is you use your phone to run Discord, and then you connect your phone up with this thing here, which is called a Quadlock, which is an Australian company. Big shout out to Quadlock. And so it's an amazing way to stay connected with your friends while you're out riding in Zwift.
Definitely, Jess. So we've just jumped on the bike with Charlotte McShane, so another top ITU athlete that we've got on the ride today. And if you look at Charlotte compared to what Aaron was sitting at, Charlotte's sitting at a higher cadence. Obviously, Charlotte's a little bit of a smaller athlete compared to the boys.
Yep.
And that's just a physiological thing, and he's sitting at a higher cadence. But she is cruising. Like, you look at the wattage, she's got a 91 cadence, heart rate's at 138, so that would be cruising point for Charlotte. Let's see if I can jump on.
Is that Craig Alexander in the TT?
That is Craig. There we go. Craig Alexander. Let's follow him for a couple of Ks, and then I'll get him on the bell.
So he's going, I don't need a draft.
Well, when he won his second one? His third, when he came back from that bike deficit. He won his first 2 crowns at Kona, and then that third year in a row, he went for it. But unfortunately, Macca played some mind games in the lava field with a couple of guys on the bike, I reckon. I watched the highlights, and Macca was playing some mind games and had a bit of a group gang up on Crowie.
Yeah. It's funny that they're racing these days. The way that the Kona is working out, people are racing with the same kind of tactics that you would for a short course.
It's getting faster and faster and faster, and it's actually really good to see because it's actually teaching our youngsters a pathway. Starting off in the junior ranks in the ITU, the fast-paced events, builds up your skills, which is critical, builds up your technique, which keeps you longer in the sport and keeps you injury-free, and then you just transfer your speed over to the long course. And a lot of the short course racers, once they go to long course, say they love short course racing because long course racing because it's easy. And if you can see, Crowie is actually in a separate kit. So Crowie is probably a Zwift ambassador. So that's where I'm tipping. So Crowie's in that Zwift sort of outfit, and I did see him ride with another group yesterday. So he's already done a ride yesterday with a group, and now he's backing it up today because that's just the type of character Crowie is at the moment. He's really interested in giving back to the sport. He's got a great group called Zanzigo coaching group that he's set up, and he's got a group of great coaches around him to be able to go. So we'll get him on the line very shortly. But, I mean, if you look at it, it seems like all of our top athletes are in that middle pack just cruising at the moment. We've got Michelle Cooper, who I just saw. So might jump to her to see some of her stats after we get past Crowie. But yeah, we're almost at 11k, so they're just under a k to go for the first lap.
So they've been going for 20 minutes, and I reckon there'd be a little bit of sweat. You're getting a bit hot, so I wonder if Craig's still wearing that. He's still wearing the band. Absolutely.
We might have to check in on him in lap 2, Jess.
Yeah, I think we should.
Right, so I'm going to just try and call Craig and see if he's all right to talk. Hello, Craig. It's Jason. How are you?
Good, mate. How are you?
Good. How's your ride going?
Yeah, it's going okay. I think Chris is trying to keep the group together. We're just on the first lap, and seems to be a few restless natives on the front of the group. But it's a good turnout, yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Beautiful. And you do this a lot, don't you, Craig? Like, so you love your Zwift?
Well, yeah. I'm a Zwift ambassador, so I try and get on here a lot. I did an event for one of my sponsors last night, which was European morning time, and I've done a few this week. I think it's a good way to engage the cycling and tri community. all the time. Not just, I guess we're going through a pandemic now and there's lockdown and a lot of restrictions around training. So it's good to see so many athletes be able to get on and ride together and do some events, keep the fitness up. So I try to get on here as often as I can.
Yeah. And so back in the day when you were in full swing, is this something that you would have loved to have access to?
I think so. I mean, look, indoor training's always been beneficial. For a lot of reasons, it's time effective, but you can minimise sort of the outside variables like traffic and traffic lights and do a really specific session. The only problem was it was always really boring. I think it's just a lot more fun now, with platforms like Zwift where you can get on here and ride virtually with anyone anywhere around the world. It's a great idea. I think it's definitely changed the game for indoor training.
Yep. And how's your crew at Zanzigo going?
Yeah, going okay. I think a lot of people sort of were in a tailspin for a while with events being cancelled and, a lot of the goal-driven athletes, I think, lost their way for a little while. But, yeah, we've tried to keep our little core group going and, training's always important, I think. I know for me personally, it's part of my life. My mental health, I always feel better when I train. Look, it's great to have events to be targeting. I think that always helps with motivation. But, I think periods like this, you can learn some things about yourself. You can improve little aspects of your training and, that you might not get to work on when you're in full swing and training for an event. So, we found that with our crew at Sanzigo, a lot of them were very demotivated for a while. But, I think we all love the sport and it's great to have events to train for, but it's great just to train.
Perfect. Yeah. And speaking of events, are you still putting on the kicks this week, like this year? Are you planning on racing or once we get back into it or even 2021?
Mate, the last few years I've just sort of taken it a year at a time and I keep the training going. So for me, it's the reverse of how it used to be. I used to target which events I wanted to go well at and structure the training and my life around that, I guess. But now I just train, and if I'm in good shape and there's races on that sort of fit with the schedule, I try and throw them in. So yeah, I'd love to pin a number on later this year. I haven't done a lot of swimming or running recently. I've been on the indoor trainer mostly and on Zwift. So I guess that's one of the benefits of 25 years of base. It doesn't take very much time to pick the fitness back up once you get into serious training. So yeah, I'd love to do some races later this year.
Yep. And so the lap 3 of today's ride, we say test your legs. What are we going to see out of you today? You're just going to sit back, or are you going to test your legs?
I don't know. I might have a crack. We'll see. Same thing happened last night. We did a hilly course over, I think it was the Greater London lap with the Surrey Hills, and I said I was going to sit back, but then every time we went up a hill and people started dropping me, my competitiveness got the best of me. So there's a lot of superstars on this ride, obviously Aaron and Brandon, Marcel, they're some of the best in the world. They're mixing it up on the ITU stage. So, there's always a few dark horses as well. So, yeah, we'll see. I might at the start of the lap see how the legs feel and try and sit on the back of the group if I can.
Beautiful, mate. We can't wait to see, and we are very appreciative of your time and your effort that you do put into triathlon. Mate, your record speaks for itself, and we are much appreciated to have you on this ride. And we'll let you go because you're sitting at 14 Ks in, and there's only probably the halfway point, so we'll let you get your breath back, let you spin a bit, and then let's see what you can do on lap 3.
Yeah, well, thanks for the invite, guys. Appreciate it. It's great to get the tri community together, and it's always a lot of fun. So, yeah, thanks for having me along.
Thanks, Craig. Enjoy.
See ya.
All right, guys, you heard there. That's Craig Alexander. He has that competitive nature, Jess.
Sure does.
I think that's the triathlon community, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
that competitive nature.
We're all that type of personality. So I was just looking on the Zwift companion app, just because I wasn't sure I said the right thing about our national leader, Michelle Cooper. But she has, before this morning, she has done the London Ride Prudential 69.8 Ks, 2 hours 50. So she's done 3 hours of riding before she even got here. So she's looking at about 4:10ish in the saddle for the morning.
Oh, Jess, you're bringing up some hurt feelings here, Jess. I was in the mix yesterday, and I was on Zwift, and I was just liking it. I did a bit of a ramp test just to see where I was at the start of a ride, and it was a probably silly mistake to do because it sort of killed me. But then I just got in the swings of it and sort of cancelled that test early and just sat at a nice, probably around 75 to 80% of my FTP, and just went for it and got to 89 kilometres, and then knock on the garage door, and that's the wife yelling at me. So I wanted to get to that 100k mark, but unfortunately, duty called.
It's good. You did the right thing.
Happy wife, happy life. So let's click over to Michelle Cooper and let's throw out a ride on. So we're sitting at 15.6 k's an hour. So if you look at Michelle's stats, she's sitting at 174, 140 watts at the moment, 138 beats per minute, 80 RPM. So she's sitting nice and comfy, Jess.
It's a really interesting thing to see. Clearly, Michelle does a lot of Ks, because you would find for someone who has got less conditioning, for someone in this situation, whereas we said Michelle is 3 hours deep into a ride, if you're lacking condition, sometimes what you find is you get this phenomenon called cardiac drift.
You do.
And what happens with cardiac drift is that your heart rate will go up for producing the same wattage. But we're not seeing that today from Michelle as we've switched back to Craig. But so she's got a lot of Ks in the bank.
She definitely has a lot of Ks, and not only is she been awesome during this time for Triathlon Australia, but just her own athletic career, Jess. She's represented Australia nearly every single year at the Worlds, so she's a tremendous athlete in herself, and that's always great to have a part of that community, isn't it?
Yeah, sure is. So we're going to check in on Craig Needham shortly, just to see how he's going, as he's rapidly texting everybody or through the message chat function, just to keep the whole group together. So, Craig, how are you going in the ride this morning?
Great. What a lovely morning for a virtual ride. As you can see, the sky is no rain. And, boy, we got some riders on today. I think they're close to 300, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. We saw 300 as our final count just before the hammer drop in the start.
So, Craig, I've got a question for you. How's it feel riding with the bear hat on? Like, do you have air in there, or what's happening?
Well, I knew all about it, Jason. I was trying to restrict the
So we just saw footage of you talking to us in a bear suit, but also riding no hands and typing on a keyboard. That is skill level 100, I think. So you must be pretty proficient as Zwift.
I try my best. I try my very best to get you know, I learn a lot from you and Jason all the time. But I think you should pick up the fashion stakes from some of the private messages I'm getting. They're sort of wondering what you're wearing today. Then a couple of people, I wonder if they're wearing the beige, the off-white, the ivory, or the bone.
Clearly wearing ours.
Mate, always in my uniform. Hey,
always professional.
Got a question for you. So we just got off the phone literally 2 minutes ago to Crowie, and he's sitting nice and comfortable. He did a ride like this, like literally during the night, he said, because it was Europe time, and he said the competitive edge took over, and he was going to let him go up the hill, but he just went. What's your prediction for today's ride? We've got like some great riders on. Crowie was sort of telling us that he's a bit competitive still. So what's your pick? Who's your pick?
What's the pick? Well, we've got a lot of talent here today from around Zwift. There's some of the AHDR guys, Cam Napa. We've got some A-grade riders there. And, of course, a lot of our pros and ambassadors. I think it'll be interesting to see which pros take it out. You know, there's a bit of a difference between riding on the road and triathlon and Zwift racing. So we'll just have to see. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very tight.
And also what we're seeing today, Craig, is you're really controlling this bunch. Like, it's really one big bunch. Like, there's a maybe 20-metre gap for a group ahead, but realistically, you're all together. which is great to see.
That's great. Yeah, we try and keep the bunch together. Very hard at the start because you get a lot of late joiners that just want to go in and race from the back. There's also a lot of people from overseas, from Japan, and perhaps they don't understand what's coming on the screen. But so yeah, I think we've got a really good bunch, a tight bunch, and it's going to be interesting as we start to get ready. Everyone's spinning their legs up, getting ready to go into turbo mode for the guys that want to race. But I'll be cruising all the way to the finish line as a mellow yellow beacon.
And we're following Aaron Royal at the moment, and he's sitting at 116 watts roughly at 65 RPM. What's your RPM doing at the moment?
RPM's 86 and just 116 watts. I'm just trying to ease the group back up this hill, and I'm going to have to get on the keyboard and start getting everyone ready for this stuff.
That's right. So we're ready for go time, and when we say go time, we're at lap 3. It's an opportunity to test the legs or not. If you don't want to hit the gas, you can just cruise home with yourself and Ian Jones from Orange. Is that correct, Ray?
That's exactly right. Yeah, we're going to be cruising all the way home with a latte. So we want everyone to come back and sit in with us, and we'll just sit back and see what the fast boys at the front do.
All right, Craig.
You guys are all over it on the commentary team. So I can't wait to see the live feed.
Mate, we will let you go because, as you know, it's a little slight hill at the moment. We'll let you get your breath. We'll let you control the bunch because I can see some of these top riders starting to make their way to the front.
Indeed. Look, I can't wait to see what happens either. It's going to be fantastic. But yeah, like I said, we definitely want to watch, I think, this ride too. And let's just see. I don't know how Chloe's going to go. Has he did the racing on Zwift? Well, I hope so. I'd love to see one of the triathletes take it out. There's some very fast Zwifters on here. Very, very fast.
All right, so we're going to sign off from you, Fuzzy Bear, and have a great rest of your ride.
Enjoy your ride.
All right, boys. Hey, back to you in the central commentary position.
So there you go, guys. There's Craig Needham, our lead rider today. So as you can see, he was just in shot then in camera. So we're still following Aaron because, like I said, Aaron, from a stats point of view, is sitting second ranked in the system. So we're at 19 Ks, Jess. So lap 2 finishes at around the 25K mark. So they've still got 6 to 5 Ks of this lap to go.
It's something that you mentioned there. So we're watching live stats through a website called Zwift Power, which not everyone is registered for, but Zwift Power is effectively anti-doping for the e-racing or for the Zwift community. So it's in effect an electronic version of the biological passport system. So it looks at all of your results from all of the group rides, training, meetups, everything that you do on Zwift. Looks at your weight, and it's able to see if, for example, if your profile has a sudden drop in weight.
So
it's a giant red flag for Zwift Power. They call that sandbagging.
So we definitely do have a bunch off the front. So we've got 2 riders that weren't really paying attention, that are just here for a ride, and that's totally fine, Jess. We're here to support everyone and everyone. But then you go back to the bunch, and the likes of your Aaron Royal and your David Mainwaring and all your top riders are in that bunch. So it's on. It's on.
They're getting ready.
So like Jess said, I'm on Zwift Power at the moment, and it's bringing up all their live stats every sort of 5 to 10 seconds. And currently, you look at this, Aaron Royal sitting at 2.1, David Mainwaring at 2 watts per kilo. So they're still sitting at that 2 to 2.5 watts per kilo.
Very controlled. That's what we like to see. It's one of the things within the principles of fitness. It's something that we talk about a lot, is specificity. And Zwift is so specific. When you go out in the road and you're riding, you stop pedaling when you're going downhill, you stop at traffic lights, all that kind of stuff. You go for a bike ride of an hour and you're probably only pedaling for maybe 35, 40 minutes.
Exactly right.
But you get on Zwift and you're having to pedal for an hour.
Definitely.
It's very hard sometimes.
And if you know power, normally when you're out on the road, your normalized power is a lot different to your average power. And that's because of the freewheeling. So your normalized power is your average that your computer works out of what your power would have been if you pedaled the whole time during your ride.
That's right. So normalized power takes out the spikes, takes out the peaks and the troughs, and gives you a predicted average. And as Jason said, in Zwift, what we see is average power and nominalised power. They're basically the same. Whereas out in the road, you get to coast for a fair bit.
The only time you will find normalised power different on Zwift is if you do have the Tax Neo, because that does allow you to do that freewheel effect during Zwift.
That's true, the good old Tax Neo. It's something that we like to do, both of us here in the commentary team based in Adelaide, where we have the luxury of some amazing hills. Climb up Norton and then you just cruise back down. But I've also spent some time in the red desert of Alice Springs, where it's pancake flat. And you can do a 150k ride, and CG total climbing for that ride is about 40 metres.
Yep.
So that's very similar to Zwift, actually.
Exactly. And so there, as you can see, guys, we're about to head back to the volcano, which is that little swooping section around the volcano. And then we hit the front of that start line, and then it's test your legs time. So they're about 4Ks out. And big shout outs to, I'm just going to go down some of this list, Justin, and give a bit of a shout out to some of these people. So again, Shane Porteous, we've got Oliver Hunt, Andrew Hunt, Simon G from EFS Tri, David Hillebrun, we've got Sharon McMaster, we've got Keith Butterworth, Jason Barry. So that's just a few names on this ride, Jess. Like, right. We've got multiple pages, but I can't keep scrolling, Jess, because it just keeps updating. We've got Mel Rainey from Cairns as well, Jess, someone that you ride with on a Saturday.
That's true. AJ Cornwall's also in there.
Gavin, my ride, Salisbury from Adelaide.
That's right. Gavin has a weekly ride as part of his my ride. Great, and he's a great supporter of the sport and has been in it for ages. Adam Barnes, great to see him out as well today.
Yeah, Connor Richards. So big shout outs for some of these the community of triathlon. Like, they're all jumping behind it, and we'd love to see it. And there you go, Jess, on screen, Robbie Wallace. There you go. Wonder how the rollers are going.
Well, he's still upright. I think that's a pretty good testament of Robbie's skills. But Jace, I just saw the power's just starting to creep up a little bit.
The power is definitely starting to creep up a bit, but they're just going around this little bend because everyone knows volcano. There's a little incline just here that can hurt a little bit if you're in the wrong gear or if you're pedaling too hard. So they'll get up this incline, which sits at about 5 or 6, but it's very short, sharp. And then they'll get eased back into it. So they're probably just knowing that was coming. Because you don't want to hit it at a low power.
Actually, one of the other stats that I want to talk about, which doesn't appear in Zwift, but for people who use Training Peaks a lot, they'll know it. It's called VI, Variability Index. So one of the things about long course Ironman, half Ironman training and racing is that you use your Variability Index to see basically how silly you've been on your ride, because that will then... that will inform how much gas you've got left in the legs for the run. And little hills like that, they suck you in. They give you the false belief that you can get out of the saddle on a hammer. But then you see your variability index goes to hell, doesn't it, Jay?
Definitely does. And then, like Jess said, especially in a long course, that is where you feel at the 20k mark on that Ironman run. So we're in the lead bunch, I'm going to call it, because there's a breakaway group of 4 riders. So we'll leave them out the front. And we'll leave this, we'll stay on this bunch because we're sitting at 22.5 Ks in. So they're almost at the end of lap 2, where Craig Needham will just say, go if you want to go. We're following Aaron Royal. We've got David Mainwaring. We've got Craig Alexander. We've got Charlotte McShane. We've got all the big riders and more in this bunch, Jess. So it'll be interesting to see that split once Craig says go. Because if you look at Aaron Royal, he's now sitting at 224 watts, which I don't think would be 2 watts per kilo roughly for him.
I think he's starting to get ready to
go. Well, we did see Jake Birtwistle take out last race, Jess, and if you look at the map here, it's a really good bunch. Like this here break, they're really bunched together, which is really cool. And this is the first time I actually watched a ride on Zwift Power, and it's really, really cool. So my suggestion is, guys, if you use Zwift a lot, jump onto Zwift Power. It's free. It auto syncs itself. It's just a website. You create your profile, you link it to your Zwift account, and then it's done. And it sort of maps out your sort of stats, especially if you're a geek like me.
The other thing you can do, which I'm actually regretting I did now, if you're riding in Zwift, you can press menu, and then it brings up the menu with garage and all those types of things. And one of them is a settings button. And when you bring up the settings button, there's a graph. You can bring up graph, and what it then does is down the bottom of your screen, it'll show you your power profile for the entire ride. Which, if you're trying to be really, really dedicated, it's fantastic, because if you do a big energy spike, then you get a spike in your graph. It shows you in red, which then stays on the screen for quite a while, which is a bit of a visual punishment for you. So it starts to do your head in.
It definitely does. So we're sweeping around the back of the volcano as we speak. They're about to dump back into downtown, go through the start line and hit out for lap 3. We're at 23.9 Ks, about 24. So we're about a K away from lap 3. Craig's just giving the wind up to people to say, otherwise grab a coffee for a latte lap.
So what Craig is saying is that right now is where we bring the bunch together. So everybody sit behind the beacon, sit behind Craig Needham. And then when he says those 3 words, go, 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 that's when you can open the gas up if you want.
So it's going to be very, very interesting. Like I said, Jess, this bunch is rode really well together. They've stuck with Craig. There's been the lone riders at the front, but they've really stuck on together, and there's about 100 riders together in this lead pack.
And they're already fluctuating around that 200 watt mark, which for Aaron, he's sitting at that 1.5. But Aaron, he's very lean, so for the regular age grouper, sitting at that 200 watt mark, they're actually riding tempo.
Exactly. There's a few athletes that I can see on here, riders that are sitting at 2.7, 2.5, 3.2. So there's a few that are trying to just spike it up just to stay on this bunch for a little bit longer, Jess, so that they can see if they can jump on that lead bunch when they say go.
Can you stay on 3 watts per kilo for an hour? It's tough.
So my ride yesterday, I was at 2.9 for an hour, just because I wanted to see how I want after that ramp test, and it does hurt. It stings the legs, and it's not a comfortable ride, but it's definitely a great ride to sort of sit at. I like that 2.9 to 3 watts per kilo, just as a bit of a sweet spot type scenario, and see how long I can hold it.
Here we go. We've got the go.
25 Ks in, go. So we're on Aaron Royal, and I can see him breaking through this pack quite quickly. Let's see who can jump on. So he's
already straight out in front. We've got someone that went in front of Royal, but Royal was at 400 watts. Now he's chasing wheels.
So we've got Marcel Walkington also there. Jess, we've got T. Price. We've got Craig Alexander has jumped on. He has definitely jumped on that lead.
He said he was going to follow wheels, didn't he?
David Mainwaring is there. It's a bit of a old dog versus new dog sort of scenario.
Oh, that's a bit harsh. He said that. I didn't say that.
But it's really cool to see, because then you see on screen, you've got the orange jersey of Crowe, you've got the blue jersey of Aaron Royal, because they are Zwift ambassadors, so they've got those dedicated Zwift uniforms on. But it's going to be really interesting. Look, Crowe's even pushing the pace to go past the lead bunch.
There's almost a split forming. You can see just out of camera. There is a lead bunch that is forming. No, everyone's stuck together, so everyone's responded pretty well.
So we've got Aaron Royal sitting at just under 300 watts roughly. So he's pushing the pace really high, going up to 400 watts. So that's now pushing 4.8 watts per kilo for Aaron. We've got probably 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got a group of about 20 to 30, but it's still not that far between the big bunch at the back, Jess.
So here's the thing, Jace. They've still got 11 Ks to go. So they're sitting at 4.8 watts per kilo. What's the plan? You're going to hold 4.8 for 10K?
They definitely won't. They'll sit in. They'll just break away for now. And we saw this last week, Jess. We saw a group of about 20 break away, which, by the way, I've heard there's a bit of a controversy. A couple of TA high national performance coaches putting some complaints in because there was a national performance coach that sat in that lead bunch.
You're talking about someone that whose name rhymes with Dan Ackland. Good mate.
So we heard there was a bit of controversy.
No, I've actually been following Dan recently last week, and he logs a lot of miles. So I think that
kudos to Dan.
Kudos to Dan. He's earned that power.
I think it just hurt Justin a little bit there in those the Jazz.
Yeah.
But no, Dan is a tremendous coach, and we're very lucky to have him as the National High Performance Coach of Triathlon Australia. And obviously at the moment with the current situation, he's been able to log a few rides on Zwift.
That's right.
So we're still sitting with Aaron. So they're going through the tunnel. sitting at 51 k's an hour, which is roughly what we saw at Ride 1, them sit through this whole last lap. So it's really interesting. We got Jack Howell from MPTC. We've got P. Quinn. We got Napier Howe again. We've got Matthew Pomeroy, David Mainwaring, Craig Alexander's still up there, Oscar Riley, who's a young athlete in Victoria. They're all sitting at 4 watts per kilo, Jess. Some at 6.6.
And David Mainwaring's just sitting on Aaron's wheel, playing a game of cat and mouse there by the looks of it.
We've got Brandon Copeland in there. We've got, who else have we got in here, Jess? We've got, come on, let's see, North, Walkington, McGovern, Copeland, SG. So they're all in the bunch, Jess. We're at 49 k's an hour, 300 watts for Aaron. I'm going to stick on Aaron because I reckon he's going to be one of those leaders. I can just sense it. They're sitting nicely together. They're riding together. And if you look at the map, there's about 20 of them, and they're pulling some riders back, Jess.
That's right, they are.
So some of these breakaway riders might get caught and passed.
And so we'll look, probably Cam Napper would be the rider that is leading out this bunch. And he's pulling some big watts there, Cam.
Definitely pulling some big watts there. And also, not only that, like if you look at their overall stats, which is I can see, some of their stats is phenomenal. Like their 15 second watts, their PB. So it's really going to come down to that final sprint like we saw in race 1 when Jake sat at the back, got a little bonus, got that lightweight bonus, and then just went bang. So we're sitting at 28.7 kilometres into the ride. Seems to be dropping back just that little bit, getting into comfort zone. So it's going to be interesting. We've got Zafera there, we've got Potter there, we've got Jansen, we've got Allen. They're all there.
It's funny what you mentioned about the 5 second power, the 10 second, the 1 minute power. It's really something that coaches look for. What we see is that, say, for a short course athlete, their strength curve looks like that. So they've got a really, really high 5 second power, 30 second power, and then it tails off over that sort of 30 minute to 1 hour power. Whereas you see the long course athletes, their strength curve it can actually be flatter because what they're focused on is what power can they hold for 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, that type of thing.
So a bit of stats for you, Jess. Like I said, this little bunch that we're following at the moment is pulling away those string riders that went off at the front. So they were like 2 to 3 minutes ahead, and they're only 20 seconds to 40 seconds ahead now. So this group is really working well together with the likes of Crowe, with the likes of Aaron, and all these other riders assisting them to get up to the front. So it's going to be interesting. Yes, there's a couple of breakaway riders that are 4 minutes ahead, but we're really focused in on these ones. We've got some good riders. We've got some young riders that are in the local community that are sitting at 4 to 5 watts per kilo, 6 watts per kilo, just to stick on this bunch. So can they hold it for those full 12Ks?
That's right. I see Simon G from EFS Tri Squad is also working really, really well, sitting behind David Mainwaring.
But realistically,
Michael Cruz, we've got Michael Quinn.
So there's a couple of athletes here, and like you can see on this map that I've got here, Jess, we've got this lone rider at the front that's just gone off the front, and then we've got this group here, which is what we're following.
That's true. There's a cluster.
So, and they're really catching these few athletes in front. So, if we're looking at this is going to come down to the wire. This is going to say who can hold their legs the longest. So, we've got Crowe coming through the front. We've got Aaron sitting at the back of this group. We've got a few little string out riders. Now, we're getting a side view of Aaron. He's on a Giant, Jess. What bike do you ride on Zwift?
I ride a road bike. I ride a Cervelo. I love my Cervelo.
Yeah. And on Zwift, what's your weapon of choice on Zwift? Have you spent your bucks on Zwift?
I have. So on Zwift, my avatar rides exactly the same bike as Aaron. So I'm riding a Giant TCR. And then I've got enough drop points to go and get myself a set of Zip 808s so that I can have some bling rolling around. How about you?
So I upgraded the other day. I've got a Specialized Tarmac Pro in the garage with a couple of 808s. And then I've also bought an S-Works TT bike. I had enough points in the system because I hadn't even bought anything, didn't even know what that was until I clicked a couple of buttons and then found this little garage function. So if you do have a lot of points, it's a way to upgrade your bike without your wife knowing.
And okay, let's talk kit, let's talk clothing, sock height. Aaron Royal has not even wearing any socks.
Triathlete. That's a triathlete though there, Jess. He's come off the swim. He's out of the water and now he's on the bike. You don't
Yeah.
put socks on the bike unless you're doing a really long course.
That's true. That's a good point. So, me, I've gone camo. I love camo.
So we're sitting at 31 Ks into the ride. We are sitting at 50 minutes exactly into the ride, and we're following Aaron Royal, who is leading this bunch through, and we're almost coming up to that final point through the volcano where they'll pick up a bit of pace. I mean, Aaron's sitting at 340 watts, which is sitting about 5.6 watts per kilo at 300, and now he's up in the 500s because they're going up a slight incline, which is at 7 watts per kilo. So it's really cool to see some of these stats. He's still sitting at that 70 RPM, so low cadence, a lot of strength work. So it'll be interesting to see once he says go, and if he puts the gas on, what his RPM does and how that changes. Because as you can see, Jess, they're catching this bunch. They're only 18 seconds behind this bunch ahead now.
That's right. That's close enough. That's in striking distance.
And Crowy's in that group still, Jess. He's got that competitive edge.
That's right. In fact, he's just gone front wheel, which would...
Very clever. He is a true ambassador. He knew what was coming, a little descent, thought he'd spin the legs, relieve some of the lactic acid, really trying to go out there. And now we've got Mainwaring, Copeland, Walkington, Aaron Royal, and Craig Alexander riding together.
And remember, Craig Alexander, he's on a TT, which means that the rest of the bunch, they're not getting a draft of him.
No, so if he chooses to go off the front, because we know he's a phenomenal cyclist, it'll be interesting to see. Because on Zwift, if you get that sort of 5 to 10 metre gap, it's really hard to pull back.
That's right.
And it's really interesting. It's going to come down to who can pick up those little bonus little gimmies.
Actually, it may have just happened really, really quick, but has Craig Alexander switched to a road bike for the last bit?
Oh my! He knows a trick or two. He is on a road bike. He's done that little quick switch.
What?
So he's very clever at this.
That is a game of poker right there.
But like I said, we've got a lot of youngsters in this lead pack. We've still got Oscar Riley, who's probably 18 to 19 years old, or even younger, Jess. Oscar Riley's probably sitting at 16 to 17 years old, and he's in this lead bunch from Victoria. So he's doing some phenomenal work on this bike. We're sitting with under 3K to go, and it's going to come down to this wire. We're coming up to the volcano. They go up a slight incline, which will test the legs and see who's hurting. There's a group of 10. There's that lead, one of those riders that they're going to catch up from, Jess, and pull him back. And then there's only 2 riders out in front.
That's a well-functioning group. Sometimes on Zwift, there's a tendency for you to go, well, I'm sitting here riding in my shed or in my lounge room, and so there's not people around me, and so I'm just going to ride as hard as I can. So they don't work as a group, but these guys, if we see, they're working really, really well together.
And I hate to say it, as a local age grouper, wouldn't it be cool to knock off a Crowy Alexander or an Aaron Royal or a Marcel Walkington? So let's see what happens.
That's right.
This is the beauty about Zwift. You can ride with some of the top riders in the world. Yes, some of these top riders won't show you all that they've got in these rides, but they don't want to lose, Jess.
That's right. As we see some of our athletes, as one, I think there was a second rider, is riding the Tron bike, which is the bike that's got the glowing wheels, and you only get that if you have done a staggering amount of vertical acceleration. Vertical ascension. If you've gone and climbed a heap of climbs on Zwift. So there's some riders that are doing a lot of Ks on this platform.
So this lead group, Jess, has put in almost a minute to 30 seconds on some of these other riders behind us. So they have pushed the pedal down this last lap. As you can see, they're coming up to that little undulation. As you can see, Aaron's being pretty clever here, dropping the wattage down a little bit. Does he increase his RPM or does he keep it at 70? He's dropped it a bit. So he's up the gears and he's dropped his RPM a little bit, and his wattage is going up.
It's going up quite considerably. They were sitting at 250, 260 at the base of that hill, and then they crested it at 460, and they've kept going. So they can see the end is in sight, and they've put the hammer down.
But some of the local lads, Howell and North, and a couple more, have seemed to sort of trying to push it to some of these athletes, and they've got a little 1 second gap, Jess, over some of these athletes.
Oscar Riley sitting at 6 watts per kilo. That is incredible. As we see, that was another person that's just pulling up. They've gone, I'm done. I've had enough.
So we're at 35 Ks in, Jess. We've got about a K and a bit to go. This is where the business end happens. This is where you say, yep, I'm good. I'm going to go. this is where you want to start pushing that pace because it's nice and flat. There's a little downhill section into the city where you can pick up some speed, but this is the time where you want to flush out that system, a bit of a higher cadence for some people, just to sort of flush it out, keep up that speed, and then go.
Maybe just have a quick drink as well.
Yes. So we're almost there. We're at 35.5 k's an hour. Then we're going to swing out of the volcano, come down, and then it's the home straight. So we're following Aaron Royal, who's in this lead bunch that we're following. We've got the Mainwaring, we got Walkington, we got Alexander, we got Copeland, we got Oscar Riley, we got Matthew Pomeroy, D. Griffith, Walkington. So we've got about 15 riders here that could take it out.
Blair Tunevich as well, we see. Darren Gallagher, Connor Richards.
So we're really at that top end. We're really pushing it. We've got Michael Quinn up there still. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So we're about under a K to go. They're just swinging around the back of the volcano. It looks like they're going to catch this bunch that are either in this ride or doing a different ride on Zwift. And that's the beauty about Zwift. You can ride on with so many other people. So they're going to go past this group, look to not be in part of our ride, but it'll be interesting. Can they get benefit off our riders, Jess, in another ride?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
So we could have some other people join us.
Yeah, I was in a meetup yesterday, and I mean, it wasn't a race, it was a meetup, but with 4 other people, and we just hooked onto someone in front. It was great. Had a bit of a free ride for 10k.
So if you can see what they're doing at the moment, Aaron Royal's been very clever, just sitting at the back here, letting some of the youngsters pull the weight at the front. We've got Marcel Walkington right there, and now they're going to bunch together because they know what's coming. They're about a K away from the sprint, and then we go.
That's right. We just saw, as we got a side shot of Aaron Royal, you see just in his game tag, you see this green jersey that appears next to his name. That means he's a Zwift verified pro.
And David Mainwaring has said go. He's holding 8.3 watts per kilo, so he is trying to break the pack right now.
That is a phenomenal power.
So
500 watts.
I can't even jump onto him at the moment. Wait, here we go. 10 watts per kilo. 11 watts per kilo. So this is David Mainwaring trying to jump on the front of some of these other athletes. So this is David Mainwaring who's got this little bonus.
He's got a boost. Is he? Does that mean he's using it? It means he used it to have an attack.
And we've got someone going past him, Jess.
Another one. So this
North.
is where this is North and Mainwaring. Very, very clever. They were using their boost. They had them just sitting there.
So North is still leading. We've got Napa coming up. Napa's taking over. Can he hold on? See, Napa has taken it today, Jess.
Cam Napa. So as we see, Cam Napa, ADHR rider, so he is very well versed in the game of Zwift, and he timed the use of his boost perfectly. Good work, Cam.
We've now finished, and as you can see, Brandon Copeland, who was in that lead bunch, we jumped onto him quite quickly. He's just spinning his legs through now, just to sort of wind down the clock, wind down his legs, build up some of that sort of stuff, and the lactic acid. So, what a finish again.
That's right, exactly. So we're just going to scroll back down through the pack and see some of our other riders.
Aaron's finished. He's done for the day. Matt Pomeroy's done for the day.
That's right. So some of our riders, they've gone pretty hard and they've crossed the line. They've gone, I am out.
So we've got David Mainwaring, who's just still spinning his legs over. So there's a few that are choosing to spin their legs over, a few that want to hit stop and save their ride, and then possibly will start back up again, Jess. But as you can see, David Mainwaring, he's got that AHDR racing jersey on. He rides for AHDR on Zwift, and he's just pedaling now. So we'll give him a bit of a ride on, Jess. What do you reckon?
I think that's a great idea. Remember, one of the things about Zwift is that when you give ride-ons to people, you actually get more points, so you can buy more cool stuff like Zip 808.
So, Jess, what did you think of Ride 2? You impressed?
That was fantastic. As we just see Craig just sending out a shout to everyone. Our next ride is in 2 weeks. We'd love to get over 400 people to that one. So 2 weeks is our next ride there.
So coming to conclusion, Jess, Ride 2 had that little explosiveness in lap 3. Ride 1 had that explosiveness in lap 3. What's going to happen in Ride 3 and 4?
Well, yeah, I mean, Ride 4, we're going to see everyone's on time trial bikes, so no one's going to get a draft. So we could see it string out, but event number 3, Who knows? But we love to see as many people as possible for that.
And like we said, we are working in the back end. We're trying to make things better and better each ride that we do. We're learning, we're growing. Next ride, let's try and get some footage of some actual riders riding live.
Yep.
We'll see if we can hook up some phone calls with some of our elites and possibly some of our other leaders. So we'll see if Michelle can jump on and we can see if we can do a live across to Michelle and do a bit of a chat to her. But we are looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm probably going to go home and go on Zwift because I'm pumped up.
But we see, so we've still got people out there riding. We've got our ride leader Craig Needham. He's still wearing his full hat.
Yeah, he's still he's waiting for the driver. He said ride 1 to 3. This was a private conversation I had with him. 1 to 3, he was going to go easy. Ride 4 is where it's at, that time trial. And when we get to the time trial, I want to see the bling. I want to see the bikes. I want to see what TT have people bought. Now's the time to buy those $20,000 bikes that aren't $20,000.
That's right, exactly. So thank you to everyone for tuning in on our stream and for the ride. We've still got some people that are out there doing the final few Ks, 3-4 Ks left.
Let me do a few shout outs, I reckon, Jess. Let's do another shout out to Craig Crowe Alexander for joining us, Brandon Copeland, Charlotte McShane, Jonathan Gorlek, Aaron Royal, Marcel Walkington, and also Wes. Wes from Zwift is on our ride, and thank you, Wes, for setting this up and letting us create this event series with Zwift. Big shout out to our leaders, Michelle Cooper, Craig Needham, and our back rider, Ian Jones. Big shout outs to you guys. Keep riding. Enjoy.
We'll see you next time, guys.